Welcome to the Buzz About Books, and joining me I have Shaun Attwood with his book Party Time. And it was a party time, wasn't it? This is this prequel to your original book, Hard Time, which came out, when was it, like a year ago?
3 years ago now. Yes.
Oh, it was 3 years ago.
Yes.
And Hard Time was basically about your time in the toughest prison in America.
It was the 26 months I spent on remand in the Maricopa County jail system, which has the highest rate of death out of all the jails and prisons in America.
I read that book, and we've done an interview before about that one, and my God, the stuff that you told about in that one is just shocking.
Right.
The conditions were crazy. I mean, I think you had like the toughest sheriff as well, didn't you? So the conditions didn't help having him.
Yeah, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, he prides himself on being America's toughest sheriff. He's always out doing publicity stunts, and he's at war with Obama because of all the human rights violations right now.
And so in that book, you talk about the conditions, and you had a horrible cellmate who basically was a mass murderer, and the food conditions were awful, the health conditions were awful, all of that. But this book is all about the lead up to prison.
Yes. This is all the stuff that I did that put myself in that jail. I want to make it clear, I take full responsibility for my actions putting myself in there. Yes.
Good, you do, yes. And you even had a show about your whole story on National Geographic Discovery Channel.
Yes, it's called Raving Arizona. It was an episode of Locked Up Abroad, Banged Up Abroad, and it went on to, the premiere was in America last month to 10 million people, and I woke up the next day to 500 emails, just complete and utter outrage at the conditions, support for my activism, and a lot of support from my family as well, who stood by me and came and visited me, and I don't know where I'd be without them. So yeah, it was tremendous.
And in this book, Party Time, you talk about how, what you did to even get into prison, which is, I'll hand it over to you.
Oh my goodness.
To explain the naughty deeds you did in America, in Phoenix, in the desert. And
well, I started following the stock market as a young person when I was 14, and I made my first investment when I was 16, doubled my money in British Telecom. So from a young age, I was telling all my mates, I'm going to go to America, make $1 million in the stock market, fly all you guys over. That was my dream. I graduated from university, and I had 2 aunts living in Phoenix, Arizona, so that's where I started. Now, I got a job right away as a stockbroker. Sounds fancy, but it was basically glorified telesales. My first 2 years, it was commission only. I had no money, so I was basically living off cheese on toast and bananas. But working these long hours, pursuing my dream, I'm the top guy in the office, grossing $500,000 a year.
Wow.
My own staff, secretary.
So you were good at that then? You were really good at it?
I had a natural ability to do it, but I'm about to throw it away, because what happened next was I retired from stockbroking. I'm only in my 20s, I've got enough money to retire. Put it into technology shares, they shut up, I became a millionaire, and the money went right to my head, because I'm a young person with all this money, with more money than common sense.
Yeah.
I start throwing Manchester-style rave parties in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm paying people to smuggle thousands and thousands of pills from Holland to, fuel these parties.
Sitting here in front of you, I literally cannot even imagine you doing that. Like, where did this confidence come from? Where did you start to believe that you could even get away with this?
I don't think it was confidence, I think it was stupidity, because if I hadn't have done it, I would have gone on to higher and higher successes, and I lost everything by choosing that path into drugs. I started taking drugs because I was a shy student.
Right, that was the
I
reason.
wouldn't go and dance with women, I wouldn't go and talk to people, and I took ecstasy the first time, and I couldn't stop dancing, I couldn't stop talking to people, hugging people all night long, like with my best friends. And then when I went to America, the rave scene was very small at first, so I started throwing these house parties for dozens of people. I'm making the most money, showing off, buying everybody drugs. And I'm thinking I'm Mr. Cool Guy, and it's never going to catch up with me. But I was getting addicted to the lifestyle and the attention. Because, going from a shy student in England to, you're the man all of a sudden. All these beautiful women come up to you, thanking you for the party and the drugs. All these guys impressed by your rising notoriety.
Yeah.
When you're in your 20s, it all goes to your head. And all the people around me were doing the same thing. So there was no one to put the brakes on. We were all reinforcing each other's negative behaviour, and it just got more and more insane until the SWAT team came.
And yeah, because you were at a point where you were just totally out of your depth, because you had you started to come across Mexican gangs, mafia, all these types of people, these characters that, were probably going to threaten your life at some point, or people around you, people you cared about. I mean, at that point, did you realise that you were way out of your depth? Or
Yeah, at the peak of it all, I had people bringing in 40,000 hits of ecstasy at a time.
That's extreme. That would seriously be something that the police would be aware of at some point.
They were aware. They were watching us.
Yeah.
I had Sammy the Bull Gravano, who was the underboss for the Gambino crime family, who murdered 24 people. He snitched his boss out, John Gotti, and he was in witness protection, Arizona, and he set up an ecstasy ring in competition with mine. He was my biggest competitor. I met his son later in prison, and his son told me he was the head of a hit team dispatched to kidnap me from a nightclub and take me out to the desert that night. But I'd missed him because Wild Man and Wild Woman...
these names are too much.
My friends Wild Man and Wild Woman had got in a fight that night together, and we had to leave the club in a hurry, and that's why this hit squad had just missed us. So I was putting myself in all these extremely dangerous situations, but, you know, because I was on drugs, I had this cloud in my head. And I wasn't aware of how dangerous it all was until that cloud lifted when I was in prison. And I looked back on my life and I was like, how on earth are you even alive?
I don't know actually how you are alive. I mean, clearly you have a stroke of luck or something, because you seem to get through things. And, you know, you've got another book coming up, which is a little bit more in depth about prison, isn't it? After that, because you definitely were punished for your crime. That is for certain, because Hard Time goes into it. This is obviously explaining why you ended up in there, because the police were onto you for a long, long time. But your other book, what's the other book about? The next one you've got coming up?
Prison Time is the sequel to Hard Time, so it's everything that happens to me in the prison system after I'm sentenced and my deportation back to England. And it's very character driven, and it's the same people all the way through it, and they range from two Tonys, a mafia mass murderer who left dead bodies from Tucson to Alaska. He was doing 112 years. He claimed they all had it coming because they were rival gangsters, so he never saw anything wrong with that. He took me under his wing and started protecting me from the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang. They range from him to people like Shira, a 6.5 foot...
these names, by the way.
A 6.5 foot charismatic transsexual. Shira wakes up one morning, drinks a cup of coffee, grabs a razor blade and starts to cut his man parts off. He gets the right side off and the left side hides, and he's got his hand up in his guts looking for it, and he's bleeding to death. And they get a helicopter to the prison just in time to get him to hospital to save his life. Yep, so...
Wow, you're just full of stories, so... I could talk to you forever about this, it's endless, but if anyone wants to get the lowdown, read Party Time first, which is this book, and then it's Hard Time, and then it's...
And then it's Prison Time.
Prison Time.
In chronological order,
In chronological order. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me back, Simone. It's been a real pleasure.
No, it's been a real pleasure. And people can find you on YouTube, can they?
Yeah, YouTube, Shaun Attwood. My blog is John's Jail Journal.
Just up there.
Twitter, Shaun Attwood, and Shaun Attwood on Facebook as well.
You can find Shaun Attwood everywhere. And if you want to subscribe to our channel, please do.